Welcome back to part 2 of the Toronto vlog series, Bakery Edition. Given the winter season, it only makes sense to bulk up for hibernation, and what better way than with as many pastries as I can stomach. Today, I'm visiting 6 bakeries across the city and loading up on all the sugar, flour, and butter I can while staying in one piece. Okay, let's get started. Our first stop is Castle & Cole. I stumbled on their Instagram page while looking for bakeries in Toronto and it was love at first sight. First up the bat is the Bodega Brioche. It's topped with bacon, cheese, and a whole egg nestled inside. This was a very honest pastry to start the trip with. It's not necessarily something flashy or showy, but it gets the job done. I could see myself stopping by to grab this for breakfast on the regular if I lived here. Next is the entire reason I came here, for their famous Queen Amman. They were still in the oven when I arrived, so I waited a couple extra minutes and got a batch fresh out of the oven. This was a pastry rife with danger, not just because of how addicting it is, but because each bite shatters the caramelized sugar on the bottom into shards of glass that act like daggers if not eaten carefully. Finally, a pastry that beckons me whenever it's on display, the cannoli. The flavor was on point with the first bite releasing an aroma of rum and vanilla. I do wish the crust was crispier, but I like the texture inside, which was a nice, soft, almost pudding-like custard. There were still a couple of things I wanted to try, but my stomach real estate was unfortunately getting pretty limited, so I got them to go for a sweet late-night snack. First in this goodie bag is, hey, you can't eat that. I just couldn't resist the cannoli cap they were selling and had to add it to my extremely niche but growing pastry hat collection. Okay, back to the actual sweet treats. This is the milk pie, which tasted sort of like a cheesecake. It's lighter and less rich and came in a buckwheat graham cracker cornmeal crust and a dusty layer of cinnamon on top. The quenelle of creme fraiche fell off its head during transport, but still added a touch of tanginess to each bite. And finally, the sticky toffee pudding. After you order it, they add the warm butterscotch sauce to the bowl. The pudding bathes in that sauce and soaks it into each and every pore, which comes oozing out with every single bite. Sweet mother of all things good and holy, this thing is so decadent it would easily send you into a coma. I think if you ate a quarter, that's automatic cavities. If you get to half, diabetes. This was a rich and indulgent start to our bakery tour. My overall favorite still has to be the Queen Amman, but they set the bar and my blood sugar levels very, very high. It's a couple days later and we're off to bakery number 2, Barbershop Pâtisserie. They've smartly left the front door wide open so you can smell the freshly baked goods kilometer away. I didn't have to use Google Maps to find this place because I just followed my nose and started floating towards the source of the smell like a cartoon character catching a whiff of pie on a windowsill. Right when I was about to leave, I was ambushed with the news of fresh butter croissants that had just come out of the oven. The cardinal rule of bakeries is, anything just birthed from the ovens must be ordered, so I had no choice but to add it to cart. The first bite unleashes an aroma of butter that wafts into your nose and places you under its spell. Soft to the touch, yet crispy on the outside. After tasting this, I am excited for the rest of the bag. Okay, let's find a park to have ourselves a little picnic and dig into the other treats. We finally found a park bench that will act as our spontaneous outdoor filming and tasting studio, so let the feast commence. Starting off is a sausage roll. House-made sausage wrapped in a blanket of golden brown puff pastry. It's a great bite and really makes me want to travel to the UK someday. My favorite part is the mustard seeds inside the sausage that you get to pop between your teeth like bubble wrap. Next up is a new pastry I've never seen before, a lemon bichon. It's essentially a lemon turnover, with puff pastry that is rolled in sugar and filled with a lemon curd. The sugar on the outside caramelizes while baking, forming a sticky, crunchy crust that latches onto the deepest crevices in your teeth. I've never seen these pastries at any other bakery I've been to, and I'm glad I got to try it. And finally, a gorgeous decadent slice of chocolate cake, Bruce Bogtrotter style. Just look at her, isn't she a beaut? The cake itself is just as moist as the frosting, and each bite feels like a sin. This is the kind of cake that doesn't need coffee or tea. What it needs is a tall glass of whole milk, none of that 2% or skim nonsense. I would love to go back to Barbershop Pâtisserie to try some of their other pastries, but for now, excuse me while I shove my face in the rest of this cake. We've been going to mostly European bakeries so far, so let's switch gears and hit up some Asian bakeries. This next stop is Bricolage, a Korean-owned bakery. This is the potato bacon epi. I prefer an epi over a baguette because it's easy to break apart into snack-sized pieces for sharing or rationing. Each piece was filled with a potato mixture with bits of bacon, and you can't go wrong stuffing fluffy carbs into crusty chewy carbs. Next in the paper parcel is a dense garlic baguette. This isn't the garlic bread that you'd find in an Italian restaurant. It's a Korean variation that is sweet and savory. It comes pre-sliced, and every nook and cranny is soaked thoroughly in a creamy garlicky butter mixture with condensed milk and honey. If the characters in Sinners had this, the movie would be over in 10 minutes. Given how fatty, creamy, and egregious this bread is, I wouldn't be surprised if it was the singular reason Canada started offering universal healthcare. Last is the sweet rice ball with a red bean walnut filling inside. I had to try holding it as delicately as I could because it was perfectly fried and collapsed at the slightest touch. This was sort of like a mochi donut or a sweet version of those fried glutinous rice dumplings you get at dim sum. Crispy shell, soft chewy mochi, and as everyone loves to say, not too sweet. Throughout this trip, I've eaten plenty of eggs and dairy that must have come from armies of farm animals, so I realized I had to seek some atonement. This is Tsuchi, a Japanese cafe focusing on plant-based food and drink. Like many cafes nowadays, they have an extensive gift shop filled with plenty of merch. Tea kits, snacks for later, incenses, shirts. It was a good place to get some holiday shopping done too. To drink, I got an unsweetened hojicha latte. Being a plant-based cafe, it was made with oat juice instead of cow juice, but that roasty, toasty flavor of the hojicha still came through. One of their weekend specials is this karepan, or Japanese curry bread. It's covered with panko breadcrumbs, deep fried like a donut, and stuffed with Japanese curry. I've never really had any luck with karepan in the past, but they absolutely nailed this. The panko is fried so crispy that it scratches the roof of your mouth if you're not careful. The curry was rich and savory, and the ratio with the chewy bread was on the mark. For dessert, this is a slice of the Mont Blanc tart, which is also gluten-free. From top to bottom, there's chestnut cream, whipped cream, raspberry compote, a candied pecan filling, and then the tart crust. What I liked about this tart was that each layer was well-defined and played a clear role in its overall construction. Whether its job was to bring the chestnut flavor forward, add some lightness or tanginess, or provide crunch, all the components were cooperative and scrumptious. I have to come clean and say I can be a bit of a vegan doubter, and I'm stubborn enough to say I'm not necessarily a convert after this visit, but I definitely see the light and potential of vegan pastries, especially after that karepan. I may not visit Tsuchi religiously, but I'm intrigued enough to come back to sample the rest of the menu. Next is a bakery that required quite a bit of planning ahead of time. This is TASSO over in Cabbagetown. Here, one cannot simply waltz in and pick up some pastries. No, you sweet summer child. First, the weekly menu drops online on Wednesday. Then, you have to pre-order and pay for it before they sell out. Finally, pickups are on Saturdays at 10:30 a.m. for only 2 hours. The bureaucracy of ordering these was like filing taxes, but more fun because you end up with yummy pastries. They have a pretty focused menu centering on laminated goods, and here's the lineup. First is the hypnotic cardamom kouign-amann, with a caramelized bottom that shone and glimmered like an absolute diva. The spice of the cardamom wasn't too overpowering, and you could taste the Maillard reaction at work. Next is the pain au chocolat, complete with a crispy hat that came right off. The benefit of jumping through so many hoops to acquire these pastries is that you know it's fresh out of the oven. The chocolate was still gooey and melty, and you can feel the emanating residual heat. Finally, we have the almond croissant, which was so dense and hefty it weighed about twice as much as the other two pastries combined. The almond frangipane filling tasted like huge warm spoonfuls of almond butter straight out of the jar. The creaminess of the filling matched immaculately with the crispy laminated exterior. If I had one word to describe these pastries, it would be robust. Oftentimes with laminated pastries, you have to eat it immediately to preserve its texture and crispy exterior, lest it become soggy. But even when I saved these for an afternoon snack, it was just as flaky as in the morning. That was really impressive and requires such a high level of dark magic and sorcery. Here we are at the final bakery of this trip, Bakerbots Baking. I was originally going to take this to go to shove my big face into it, but a seat opened up right as I was about to leave. As such, I sat down and dived straight into my box of goodies one last time. I couldn't ignore the campy looking tart any longer, so we're starting with the chocolate raspberry cream puff tart, an amalgamation of 2 pastries into one. I kept hesitating while thinking about how to attack this beast, and I'm pretty proud of my dissection down the middle using a dull wooden knife. The cream puff was filled to the max with a luscious custard and sat on top of a rich chocolate cream in a chocolate tart shell. The raspberries offered some much needed tartness to cut through everything. Next is our second butter tart of the trip, but this time with the dense guava jam hidden inside. The crust isn't quite as flaky as the ones from Banoi, but I like the addition of the guava, which is a nice twist on the classic. Finally, to wrap everything up is the very special Cinnabon. Cinnamon rolls are another one of those baked goods that I always make space for when I see it. In college, my senior year roommate and I would always get cinnamon rolls on Friday mornings, so it holds a special place in my heart. I've yet to find a cinnamon roll as good as those, but it might be too hard to compete against the taste of nostalgia. And with that, this concludes our bakery tour around Toronto. If I had to narrow down my 3 favorite bites from the video in no particular order, it would have to be the pumpkin pie kouign-amann from Castle & Cole, the chocolate cake from Barbershop Pâtisserie, and the cardamom kouign-amann from TASSO. Also, the garlic baguette from Bricolage. Fine, making my top 4. I've consumed an obscene amount of butter and sugar, but 'tis the nature of solo traveling and wanting to try everything. Stay tuned for the 3rd and final part of the Toronto vlog series, which will feature some heavy-duty slurping. But until then, peace out.